Hello everyone, and the topic of discussion today will be maxillectomy. So as the name indicates, the maxillectomy is nothing but the process of removal of the entire maxillary bone or the parts of it. Now if you see the maxillary bone, it is going to contain four important processes. The first process will be the frontal process, which is going to be in close proximity with the frontal bone. The second process will be your zygomatic process, which will be in association with your zygomatic bone. The third process is the alveolar process, which is going to contain your maxillary teeth. And posteriorly, the maxillary bone is also going to have your palatal process, which is going to be in close proximity with the palatal bone. So maxilla have four processes: frontal process, zygomatic process, palatal process, and your alveolar process. So this one will be posterior. Okay. Now, depending upon which part is going to be removed, the maxillectomy can be divided into four types: subtotal maxillectomy, partial maxillectomy, total maxillectomy, and radical procedure with orbital excenteration. So now we will see what are the process to be removed under each of these procedures. So let us start with the total maxillectomy. So total, as the name indicates, the entire maxillary bone along with the four processes will be removed in case of total maxillectomy. So it is the resection of the complete maxillary bone. If you see the subtotal maxillectomy, here the entire maxilla will be removed except the orbital processes or the infraorbital rim, which means the maxilla which is going to form the medial border of the orbit as well as the infraorbital rim will be spared here. So this entire process will be spared. So this won't be removed. The other process, the part of zygomatic process, the entire palatal process and the alveolar process will be removed in case of your subtotal maxillectomy. So the part which is spared in case of subtotal maxillectomy is the medial wall of the orbit or the infraorbital rim. So both of these will be saved in case of the subtotal maxillectomy. In case of partial maxillectomy, usually only the lower half of the maxilla, which means the alveolar process will be removed. For the other maxillectomy procedures like a subtotal, partial or radical procedure, we have to go for extraoral incisions. But your partial maxillectomy is nothing but the removal of the lower half of the maxilla or the removal of the alveolar process only, which is going to hold your maxillary tooth. So this can be even done under your intraoral procedures. The final type is the radical procedure with the orbital excenteration. This is the procedure usually done when the tumor is going to invade the orbital contents or when the tumor is going to be in the ethmoidal sinus along with the maxillary sinus. So the entire maxillary bone will be removed here along with the removal of the tumor from the ethmoidal sinus as well as from the orbital region. So this is called or the radical maxillectomy procedure along with the orbital excenteration. So these are the four types of maxillectomy. Now let us see what are the indications and what are the contraindications of maxillectomy. So the indications include your malignant tumors invading the maxilla. Usually it starts from your alveolar ridge and it can get enter into the maxillary bone. For example, squamous cell carcinoma will be the most commonest malignant tumor invading the maxilla. The other tumor includes your melanoma, your anaplastic carcinoma, etc. Then in case of aggressive jaw tumors which invades the entire maxilla, in case of your ameloblastoma or sometimes any kind of cystic lesions. Actually, cystic lesions are common in mandible, but it can occur in your maxilla also, like your OKC or any kind of extensive dentigerous cyst affecting the entire maxillary bone, etc. We have to remove the maxillary bone. Also, in case of osteomyelitis. Osteomyelitis is common in mandible. Again, if it is going to occur in maxilla, sometimes it can erode the entire bone, which will result in the resection of the maxillary bone. In case of few fibrous lesions like in fibrous dysplasia and in case of your extensive fungal infections. Nowadays, you know, right, in COVID pandemic situations, mucormycosis is one of the most commonest complication of COVID. So if the mucor is going to invade the maxilla and enter into the maxillary sinus, usually we'll be going for the resection of the complete maxillary bone. So extensive fungal infections like mucor or in cases like granulomatous infection also we can go for maxillectomy. So all these are indications for maxillectomy. Coming to the contraindications, the first and foremost contraindication will be tumors like lymphoma and rhabdomyosarcoma. The reason for not doing maxillectomy in these tumors is that they are radiosensitive. So if this tumor is going to be present, we can go for external radiotherapy that is very effective. So it is unnecessary to go for maxillectomy in these tumors. So it is completely contraindicated in those tumors which are radiosensitive, which can be completely cured by using radiotherapy. Number two, if the general health of the patient is poor, if he or she is going to be immunocompromised, or if they're going to have uncontrolled diabetics, and if the prognosis is going to be poor, we can avoid the surgery. If there is a bilateral tumor, bilateral maxillary tumor extending into the orbit, we are not supposed to do this surgery. And also in case of tumors where there is an extension into the cranial fossa or cranial base, this surgery is contraindicated. So these are the indications and contraindications of maxillectomy procedure. Now let us see what are the different kind of incisions we have for maxillectomy procedure. See, the incision we give will be completely based upon what type of maxillectomy we are going to perform. So I will show you the picture. We can see here there are different approaches, but the classical approach will be your Weber-Ferrechsen approach. So what you see here, the red incision is your Weber-Ferrechsen approach. You can either extend it laterally till your lateral canthus of the eye, that is called as Diefenbach modification, or you can just extend it superiorly, that is called as Lynch modification. So which incision you should follow, either Weber-Ferrechsen's approach or Diefenbach's modification or Lynch's modification. In case if you are going for radical approach with the removal of the entire orbital contents or the tumors in the orbit, you have to go for the Lynch modification. Means it is the Weber-Ferrechsen's approach which is extended superiorly to involve the supraciliary region also. So it is called as Lynch modification. If you are going for total maxillectomy, obviously you have to remove the maxilla which is going to be forming the infraorbital rim also. So in those conditions we have to go for Diefenbach's modification, where the tumor incision line will be extending till the lateral canthus of the eye. Usually if you are going for the partial maxillectomy, removing only the alveolar process, we can do with the intraoral approach itself by means of elevating the mucoperiosteal flap. If you are going for subtotal one, because subtotal maxillectomy is the most commonly performed type of maxillectomy, we can go for this Weber-Ferrechsen's approach. So what is this Weber-Ferrechsen's approach? It is nothing but there will be an incision which is made to split the lip along the philtrum first. So you can see that this area will be philtrum. So we are going to start the incision from this philtrum area to split the lip into two parts. And then the incision is made superiorly in and around the alar base, and then continuing along the lateral surface of your nose up to the medial canthus. So this is called as Weber-Ferrechsen's approach. So it starts from the philtrum, splitting the lip into two parts, extending laterally along the lateral surface of the nose till your medial canthus of the eyes. So this is enough if you are going for subtotal maxillectomy. Or if you are going for total maxillectomy, to remove the maxilla which is going to be forming the infraorbital rim, we have to extend the incision till your lateral canthus. So it will be along your inferior border of the eye, nearly 3 mm below it. Or if you are going for radical technique to remove the tumor contents from the ethmoidal sinus as well as from the orbit, then you have to go for your Lynch modification, extending it superiorly, or it is a supraciliary modification. So usually done for radical technique with orbital exenteration. So if you see the surgical procedures, we have to go for pre-operative consideration, then give the general anesthesia with infiltration at the operative site, then the incision, reflection of the skin and the flap over the maxilla. We have to cut the bone and finally disarticulate it. This is the overall view of your maxillectomy surgery. So now we have to explain each step in detail. We have to start with the pre-operative consideration. See, always getting the consent of the patient is very important because it often goes for a lot of complications. Like your face is going to be highly vascular, so they can go for hemorrhages and bleeding. Sometimes they can go for epiphora because nasolacrimal duct is going to be near the medial canthus of the eye, so they can go for epiphora. That means the uncontrolled tear secretion from the eyes. Or they can even go for numbness of the entire cheek because the infraorbital nerve will be there in the cheek edge. So you have to be very careful not to injure the nerve. So sometimes if you injure, the patients can go for numbness of cheek, so that you have to tell them, so that you have to get the consent of the patient. So if you get all the consent of the patient, make the adequate amount of IV fluids and the blood ready, and then you can give the general anesthesia. So along with giving general anesthesia, often you have to infiltrate the operative site. That means the cheek and the lip area with your 1% xylocaine with adrenaline. That is for the purpose of controlling the bleeding during the surgery. See, after giving GA and adequate amount of infiltration, you have to go for your incision. So incision, you know that depending upon the type, you can go for either Weber-Ferikson's approach, or you can go for Diefenbach's modification, or you can go for Laing's modification. This is about your anterior incision, but you have your posterior incision also. So you can see here, this is going to be your palate. So medially, the incision should be given between your canine tooth and the lateral incisor tooth. Now it should extend along your mid-palatine suture. So it should be 3 millimeter lateral towards the mid-palatine suture, and then it should directly involve your maxillary tuberosity extending till the gingivobuccal sulcus, and it will again join with this particular Weber-Ferikson's incision. This is what will be the incision intraorally. So now after the incision, you have to go for the reflection of your skin flap over the maxilla. So subperiosteal flap will be elevated, which will be extending superiorly till your infraorbital rim. Now after elevating all these flap, now you'll be able to see the maxillary bone. Now depending upon the type, you have to remove the maxillary bone. Remember that you have lot of blood vessels in this region, like your maxillary artery, alveolar artery, etc. So if you're going to remove the bone or cut the bone in this area, there will be severe hemorrhage or bleeding. So to control this, you have to go for ligating the maxillary artery, and the venous drainage will be through the pterygoid venous plexus. So you have to pack your pterygoid venous plexus also. So these are the two methods by which you can control the bleeding, by ligating the maxillary artery and also by packing your pterygoid venous plexus. Now, if you're going to cut the bone, always use powered osteotomes, because these powered osteotomes will reduce the bleeding. Rather than to use your wrong use and chisels, we can go for usage of these powered osteotomes to cut the bones. So here you have to also take care to transect the nasolacrimal duct and completely marsupilizing your lacrimal sac also, because there are chances for the pathological stuff to enter this particular lacrimal sac. So you can go for marsupilization of the lacrimal sac and transection of the nasolacrimal duct while doing maxillectomy. That have to be done along with your bone cuts. And finally, after removing the entire defect, the defect can be packed with tincture benzoin gauze. So you have to go for packing. After disarticulation, go for packing with tincture benzoin gauze. And you can go for post-operative maxillary splint or obturator to close the defects. The skin incisions should be closed layer by layer. And finally, it is sutured. So this is the step-by-step approach for your maxillectomy procedure. So to summarize, first of all, pre-operative considerations. That includes getting the consent from the patient and to explain the possible complications, what can happen. Right after that, give the general anesthesia, go for infiltration with 1% xylocaine, and then go for incision marking. Not only your extraoral incision, you have to always think about your intraoral incision also in the palate. Then go for the reflection of the skin flap over the maxilla. Try as much as possible not to injure your infraorbital nerve. Now, once the bone is visualized, make sure that you're going to take the powered osteotome, then resect the maxilla that have to be removed from the parts to be preserved. Then, after resecting it, just pack it with sufficient amount of tincture benzoin gauze, control the bleeding. Then the skin incisions are to be closed in layers by suturing. then obviously if there is any anatomical defect, you can go for reconstructive procedures. You can use your pectoralis major, myocutaneous flap. You can use your forehead flap, etc. to reconstruct your cheek area. So coming to the complications. So what are the complications that can occur during maxillectomy surgery? The first one is bleeding, because the entire midfacial area is going to be highly vascularized, so you can go for bleeding. Sometimes by the removal of the maxilla, the patients can go for midfacial retrusion, because since the maxilla is removed, the face will be appearing as if there is a retrusion in the midfacial region. Some patients can go for epiphora because of blockage of the tear duct. So there will be uncontrollable tear secretion from the eyes. If the infraorbital nerve is damaged, then they can go for numbness of the cheek also, which will be an important complication of maxillectomy surgery. And sometimes they can go for post-operative infections. They can go for flap necrosis, infection in the surgical site. So all these are going to be the complications of maxillectomy. So if maxillectomy is a short note, then you have to write about what are the types of maxillectomy, indications and contraindications of maxillectomy, stepwise approach. You have to write about the various incisions. Then you have to write about the post-operative complications. So that's all about the maxillectomy procedure. I hope you clearly understood. If there is any doubts, you can just leave it in the comment box.